everyone, Joshua Myers here, and welcome back for another review. And today I am going to be reviewing yet another TV series, and this time I'm reviewing Lost Tapes from 2008.
There are creatures science refuses to recognize. But new technology makes us question what is real. If our eyes see it,
back away from the girl.
If our cameras capture it, does it exist? Enter a realm where fact meets fiction, science meets legend, where nightmares come to life.
Them, they're monsters!
Lost Tapes. Do you believe? Lost Tapes.
Now, just like with other TV show reviews I've done, I'm going to do this a little bit differently, since this is kind of a different series than I typically review. Now, I'll talk about what Lost Tapes is and the kind of history around it. So, for those of you who don't know what Lost Tapes is, Lost Tapes is a horror anthology found footage series that premiered on Animal Planet, of all places, in 2008. This is it's an anthology series, so it tells different stories with different characters in it, and it's done in the found footage style, like films like the Blair Witch Project or Paranormal Activity, where it's handheld and stuff like that, and it's like found footage, like footage was found and da 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 da. And today, Lost Tapes focuses on encounters with cryptozoological creatures, like stuff like Bigfoot, a relative of Loch Ness Monster, the Chupacabra.
There may have been another chupacabra sighting not too far from here. That's the mysterious animal known for sucking the blood out of goats.
The animal-killing, blood-sucking chupacabra.
A beast sometimes described as an alien-like creature, resembling a griffin.
Farm animals have been killed and drained of their blood by a mysterious creature. It looks more like something out of a horror movie.
It was the work of the chupacabra.
The chupacabra lives.
And some other ones that I wasn't really familiar with until the series came out, such as Mothman, or its close relative, the Owlman.
Suddenly they heard a hissing sound, and they saw the Owlman rising up into the air in front of
them. It was a demon.
Over the next 30 years, a string of other Owlman sightings took place, and a legend was born.
I saw a demon beast. A demon beast. Something knocked me down!
Stuff like that I wasn't too familiar with. The series was produced by a company called Go Lucky Entertainment. Now, not much is known about this company outside of the fact that it produced this one series that tried to make it the real life of these group of people and that, but a lot of people criticized the show for being too fake, too scripted. So, again, Animal Planet and Go Lucky Entertainment ended up collaborating and making this series. It lasted for 3 seasons, spanning from 2008 to 2010, with I think something like 37 episodes, something like that, together. Now, each episode is about 22 minutes in length, so, yeah. And the season 1 premiere of the series, so the premiere of the entire series, was season 1, episode 1, Chupacabra. With that being said, let me talk about my history with Lost Tapes. I was a kid when this came out back in 2008. I might have been in middle school. I don't remember. But I do remember it coming on TV. I used to watch Animal Planet a lot, and it came on TV. And I was like, oh, what's this? And I watched it, and now I wasn't scared as much as some other people, although there were some episodes that did scare me, of course, at the time. But I ended up, I don't remember, like, I really do remember watching an episode from season 1, and I believe it was the episode Devil Dragon.
A megalania is the largest lizard ever to be recorded.
The tracks found by the teenagers were consistent with a reptile 30 feet long, far bigger than even the Komodo dragon.
Which is based on the supposedly extinct creature, the Megalania. And the episode revolves around a host of a survival TV show in the Australian rainforest.
Hey everyone, welcome to Stranded. I'm here in the Australian rainforest. Over the next week, I'm going to be sharing this environment with some of the most dangerous animals, plants, reptiles, and downright scary creatures you will ever see.
And then he encounters like the Megalania, and it's hunting him down and all that different stuff. I remember that vividly, like me watching that episode, which I used to love, which I loved, like at the time, loved that episode as a kid. Yeah, you get so many different types of. So that was my introduction to Lost Tapes, and like I was just an avid fan until then. So I watched through the entire series as it was airing, all the way up to the season 3 finale. Well, the season 3 finale, Reptilian. And as someone who was, again, who loved that kind of stuff, I think that was just around the time I was getting into horror and stuff like that. You know, some of my early introductions into horror was Goosebumps, this, and Poltergeist and stuff like that. So yeah, it was right around that time I was really getting into horror as a genre, and so I wasn't really scared by a lot of these episodes. Some came close, but I would say I didn't really get scared by Lost Tapes until season 2 came around, and I think the episode that scared me the most was the season 2 premiere, Vampire.
Archaeologists in 2009 unearthed a skeleton that had a brick thrust into the mouth.
And probably evidence of a very real vampire remedy.
This may have been a local tradition to stop her vampiric attacks. Vampirism flourishes throughout history and continues today.
There have been those who psychologically feel the need to drink blood.
People do believe in real vampires today.
Which is is a story about the Redding family essentially moving to a new house. It's a fixer-upper. dad was fired from his job due to economic downsizing because of the recession, and so it's a fixer-upper of a house, and but during that time, their son ends up experiencing some weird things and some very creepy things too. And it turns out there might just be a vampire living in their house. And this episode creeped me out the most because at the time, my family was in a very similar position. Not exactly, but we did move into this house around that time as well. And it wasn't necessarily fixer-upper, but a lot of this house did kind of remind me of how the house looked in the show. And I was a kid too at the time. So, probably my early teens. I was maybe 13 or something like that, 14. And I remember because in this bedroom to me is kind of very similarly shaped to that kid's bedroom, and I was just freaked after watching that episode. I was just freaked out that a vampire was going to come, like that one scene. If you know the scene, here it is. That scene, I was thinking about, is a vampire going to come up by my bed and try to suck my blood and everything like that? I was like, ugh. And everything like that, and sometimes even scared because of that. So that was the only episode that really got me in the way that it did. But yeah. So that's kind of my history with Lost Tapes. Now, I kind of already talked about some of the episodes and stuff like that in regards to my thoughts on them and everything like that. But what do I think of the show today? Because I did recently rewatched it. I have Discovery Plus, and it's on Discovery Plus. So, if you guys want to check out this series for yourself, if you have Discovery Plus, you could go watch it, or you could buy it on DVD for, well, never mind. Just go watch it on Discovery Plus. Apparently the season sets are out of print. I used to own them, but then I ended up trading them at the pawn shop, and it's one of the things that I regret doing. So, I regret doing that, and I wish I still had those. But that was at the time I didn't know that physical media went out in print, and once it does, it becomes very expensive. I didn't know about that, so I was kind of dumb in that regards. So, it was in my early stages of collection and physical media knowledge, so yeah. But, moving on. I'm going to be discussing some episodes here real quick that of ones that I haven't talked about yet. I've already talked about some, but let me talk about some that I haven't talked about yet. So starting off, I think the episode I'm going to discuss would be the episode Death Raptor, which isn't okay for any of you who have watched the series and watched it growing up, or you watched it when it was aired on Animal Planet. Is it just me, or did I thought the Death Raptor episode when it was announced was going to be about a velociraptor or some kind of dinosaur, like some kind of dinosaur in that family, you know, like a Deinonychus or Utah raptor or something like that? Am I the only one? So, but yeah, this one takes place in California. You have two paranormal researchers who go in and investigate a series of strange occurrences that have been going on around the church over there. And turns out it is the Owl Man who have somehow migrated from the UK all the way to US. Don't know how. I mean, again, it is a big flying creature, so it probably could easily fly to a different country if it wanted to, I guess. You see stuff like they go and investigate, they go up to the church, bell tower, and they see stuff like giant owl pellets, and inside there's like a human skull and stuff like that. And then they go visit this family whose daughter had an encounter with the Owl Man, and she's clearly traumatized by it.
It was a demon.
Well, what makes you say that?
By the way it made me feel.
Do you think you could tell me how it made you feel?
Hot. And scared. It was chasing me. It wanted to get me. It still wants to get me. It knows you're here to stop it. It's coming back to stop you.
Now, let me get something out of the way. The acting in the series ranges from, most of the times is pretty laughable. And this is like with the child actors all the way to the adult actors. Like, they're just, so nobody is safe from the kind of acting that you see in the series. So, and here's the thing, I'm not one to really judge actors much, considering I am a director myself. I've also acted in a few things myself, so I know how difficult it is to get a good performance. So maybe it wasn't them, maybe it was the director. I think it's I think it was one director who directed every episode of this series. Now, I think probably here's my first, besides the acting, here's my first legitimate issue with the series. I think the series probably would have worked better and probably could have lasted for longer seasons if they had a different writer and a different director, different writers and different directors coming in to do each of the episodes. I think that probably would have worked a lot better. I think it probably would, give more to the anthology approach, So that's just my personal thing. I think that's what I would have done if I was in charge of Lost Tapes. So there's that, and then but anyway, so she's clearly traumatized, apparently, and she seems to be psychic or something like that, or has some connection, like paranormal connection with the Owl Man. She's even like, it knows you're here to stop it. It's coming back to stop you. So it's like, so she seems to have some sort of psychic connection or some sort of paranormal connection with the Owl Man. So, and then, now, here's the thing. Starting in season 1, because this is a season 1 episode, season 1, you a lot of times barely get to see the cryptids of the episode. Like it's like a cryptid of the day. Like there's a new cryptid that's showcased each episode, and that's the case throughout all 3 seasons. But season 1, you barely get to see the creature, which I guess it's like, in some ways it's better because it's like less is more, like what you don't see is scarier than what you do see. So I guess it's better that way. And so, and I think it probably had to come down to budgetary restraints, because season 1's budget was not as much as season 2 or season 3, so they had less of a budget to work with. So, and I understand that as a filmmaker, so and especially as someone who is essentially a no-budget filmmaker. So, now, if you're wondering, what's the difference between a no-budget and what's the difference between a no-budget filmmaker and a low-budget filmmaker? Well, the difference is purely based on the budget you have. For me, a lot of times, I think most I've had in regards to budget mainly came down to, like, for example, my short film I did back in 2022, Howling the Kills of Michael Myers. That was probably, there was the masks I already owned, which I got in 2019. I think it was like a $60 mask from Trick or Treat Studios. The coveralls, which I already owned, which that was like about $25 at the time when I got it. So, the knife I got, which was free actually, one of my teachers gave it to me for free, and my dad dulled the knife. So, there's that. And the camera, which is my phone, which I didn't pay for, my family did, and my tripod and stuff like that. So, although I think, and then also too, I used another camera, which I ended up getting at the pawn shop for, I think, a trade-in or something like that. And so, yeah, the majority of the cost came down to really the costume and that, which together I think the costume was like like about $85, so just under $100. So that was my budget. That was my budget for that short film, and so yeah, that's what it means to be a no-budget filmmaker. Is you don't really have a budget. You really don't. So, and I eventually would like to move into being at the very least a low-budget filmmaker where I actually have a budget and stuff. So, so yeah, so I understand that coming as a filmmaker and a, no budget filmmaker, I understand budgetary restraints and everything. So, so I give a lot of stuff from season 1 a pass because of that. So, but yeah, most of the times when you see the creatures, it's either, you see like a shadow, like something far off in the distance, or you see a shadow of the thing, or even sometimes the like a PNG image of like a wing or something like that. That's kind of what you see, and also too with Lost Tapes, because it's on Animal Planet, they do give some educational stuff about the creature. So it's kind of like the found footage horror story is intercut with educational segments talking about the, either the cryptid, or, talking about like some of the science that could go behind it, but and comparing it to some real life animals and stuff like that. So, and that's intercut every so often between the, so I think honestly, if you were to cut those educational segments out, the episodes would be shorter, so, and would actually be more of a, and honestly, that's kind of my one negative with it, is that, I mean, it was kind of a cool gimmick when it came out, but now thinking about it, I think the series would have worked better if they just went full on, like, these are horror short stories, no educational value really, just kind of just make it into horror short anthology movies, So I think that would have worked better. Just got out the educational stuff, and it would have worked better, in my opinion. So, but anyway, so but yeah, also too, let's talk about the characters in the series. Most of the characters, just like the acting, are pretty hollow for the most part. Nothing really to them. I will just say, you're not going to come into Lost Tapes expecting like great stories, great characters, even like really scary and intense stuff. Sometimes you get some kind of creepy stuff here and there throughout the series, but you're not going to come to it expecting all that stuff. So let me just get that out of the way, so that when my rating of the series, you would see, you would understand why I'm rating it the way I am. So it's essentially kind of just a cheesy, like just a cheesy watch, you know, kind of like, you know, watch monsters kind of, you know, go in and attack people and stuff like that. It's kind of like that, so. But speaking of the series, let's move into the later series and discuss some of the changes that I've made from the first season. So starting off with season 2, and I already talked about an episode from season 2, with being the vampire episode, which is the premiere episode. And honestly, the episode that a lot of people could agree who have seen this series is to being the scariest episode Lost Tapes ever did. And I do agree with that personally. So, and this season is when they started to be able to showcase the monsters off a bit more. You know, like, you get to see, like, a lot of times it's like guys in costumes or stuff like that, or, you know, but like, and they started to get kind of a bit out there in regards of what kind of monsters they'll show. Like, again, season 1, episode 1 is a vampire. It's about vampires. I'm like, I don't think vampires are considered cryptids, you know? And then there's another episode later in season 2. It's about werewolves. It's a werewolf episode. And again, I don't think werewolves are cryptids, but whatever. As long as you can make it fun, I'm for it. So yeah, you get stuff like that. But actual cryptids, you get stuff like Lizard Man. You get stuff like the Bear Lake Monster, Dover Demon, which was the season 2 finale. So just stuff like that. And then season 3, they upped the budget even more than they did in season 2, and they were able to show more than they did in season 2. And season 3, in my opinion, is where they really went out there in regards to the concepts and stuff like that. The premiere episode of season 3 was an episode, was the episode Zombies. So yes, they did an episode on zombies. This series, like, season 3 kind of introduced something a bit new to the series, and that's a recurring character. So, season 3 introduced the Enigma Corporation, which is a private security firm who specializes in dealing with, you know, weird and kind of like otherworldly stuff. So, they introduced this group, this task force, in this episode, and it kind of, like, a lot of times, like, I will say, I think, honestly, I personally think the zombie episode might be the best episode of the Enigma Corporation episodes, which there's 3, so you see them again 2 more times in season 3. And I will say, I do kind of like how, like, so they go into this house, this boarding house that ends up being run over by zombies and that, and kind of gives off a lot of Resident Evil vibes.
Interesting.
Coming in.
Honey, what's the do? You can be yourself.
Second time we see the Enigma Corporation in season 3 is the episode Strigoi. It's yet another vampire episode. It's a different vampire, you know, different type of vampire. So they investigate this construction site or whatever it is. I forgot what it was. I think it's like in Arizona or something like that. Some sort of like kind of more dry desert type of area. And they end up encountering a potential survivor, which we as the audience know is the vampire, the Strigoi vampire. But they do find something sus about the guy. So they investigate everything, and of course, as we know, it turned out it was the vampire who killed everybody and everything like that, and that's, you know, so, and A lot of people remember this episode for the scene where the vampire shows his true colors. So, this scene right here.
In your mouth, please. Huh. Open. What the hell?
Is that a trank dart?
That's the scene a lot of people remember this episode for. So yeah, and then this last episode that features the Enigma Corporation. The Enigma Corporation is sent in to investigate a series of ritualistic murders in Mexico, and it involves the occult. And there's this cult that is that worships the Mayan god Quetzalcoatl, the serpent god, and they're trying to bring in a new era, and they eventually do bring out Quetzalcoatl, and the Enigma Corporation ends up trying to fight off the creature. So yeah, like I said, these episodes get crazy, but this was kind of new for Lost Tapes, like bringing in recurring characters and stuff like that. And I would say my favorite of the Enigma Corporation trilogy, as I would like to call it, is the first episode, the zombie episode. The vampire one's fun. My least favorite is the Q, the Serpent God episode, but still fun episode. And then there's stuff like other crazy stuff like Devil Monkey, which is like, oh wait, and then there's other episodes like there's an episode from season 3 titled Poltergeist, so it's about poltergeist and then the poltergeist haunting, and it's, of course, people are going to make the comparison to that to Tobe Hooper's 80s classic film Poltergeist, and not as good as the movie Poltergeist, but it's fun. It's a fun episode. And then there's like stuff like Devil Monkey about a deranged giant ape, and I'm like, it gets insane, and you could tell it's a dude in a suit, but like these episodes get insane. I would say probably the creepiest episode season 3 would probably be the Wendigo episode, Wendigo the American Cannibal, as the episode's called. That would probably be the creepiest episode of season 3. And then there's like crazy stuff like the season finale, which is a reptilian, which is based on the whole conspiracy theory that there's humanoid, reptilian, lizard type people living amongst us in society, stuff like that. It's just like, it's kind of, so yeah, season 3 gets really crazy and out there, and they are able like have more of a budget than they did in season 1 and season 2. So yeah, overall, what are my personal thoughts on Lost Tapes? It is a, cheesy but fun found footage horror anthology series that appeared on one of the most bizarre networks you could have it appear on, which is Animal Planet. And the one thing I do know is that so I'm gonna give Lost Tapes a 3.5 out of 5 stars. There's some things with the series I like. A lot of it's nostalgia, and then some things I obviously don't like and stuff like that. So, but overall, I have fun with the series, and I'm probably going to end up continuing to watch it to revisit some of my favorite episodes. And the one thing I found out that was interesting is that this series, it now has a cult following, and which I'm glad to hear, because I just thought this series was kind of lost to time, no pun intended, and was kind of like fell into obscurity, you know? So it's kind of good. I think it's good that it has a following, and there's a lot of people who love the series to the point where they're wanting either a season 4 or a new series, like a rebooted series or something like that. I thought about doing something like this, not exactly like Lost Tapes, but I thought about making a horror anthology short film series where it would be like found footage style, where it would focus on, you know, a specific cryptid and that, and, you know, kind of do all that stuff, but with, you know, better costumes, stuff like that, you know, kind of my own style and everything like that. I thought about doing that, and I think that would be a lot of fun. So, so overall, what do you guys think? Have you guys seen this series? And if so, tell me in the comments below what you guys thought of it. I would be really curious to see your guys' thoughts on this series. And for those of you who haven't seen the series or never heard of it, are you guys curious to checking out? Because you guys, for those of you who either want to revisit it or check it out, you could watch it on Discovery Plus. They have all 3 seasons, although it's kind of a bit out of order episode wise, so I would check a, you know, more accurate episode guide and just kind of scroll through and watch the episodes in order if you want. If you're that kind of person, that's what I did. So, or you could buy it on DVD. Yikes. Never mind on that. Just watch it on Discovery Plus. Apparently, the series went out print. It's gone out print, and now it's pretty expensive to own them on DVD. I think most of them are like $100 or something like that. So if I really wanted to get all 3 seasons, and they would still not be in like perfect condition or anything like that, I would literally be paying like about $300 just to own the entire series of the show. And it's like 3 seasons, 37 episodes. Yeah, I used to have the season sets and everything like that, and I wish I didn't got rid of them. I traded them in at the pawn shop for something else. I don't remember what exactly, but I wish I didn't. That's one of those things that I wish I didn't got rid of. That was at the time where because I didn't know that physical media would go out of print and therefore become more expensive and harder to find sometimes. So I didn't know about any of that, so I'm just like, kind of like, stupid. Yeah, so, but now I know better, so, so yeah, but definitely check this out on Discovery Plus if you have it, or if you don't, maybe do a free trial of Discovery Plus if you could, and just use that time to binge through this series. So, yeah, and so that's it for this review. If you like this video, be sure to hit the like button, and if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you guys for watching, and do you believe